Welcome to podcast 43. Yes, 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 maybe, but yes.
Hello, welcome back to podcast 43. I'm your host, Chris Borg, joined with my co-host, like always, Fulton Collins.
Hello,
How are you
hello.
doing?
I'm doing okay. I can't really complain, I suppose. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm just, so sad that we don't have a guest. We don't have a lovely guest this week, but that's all right.
We'll get somebody back in here soon. We'll get the rodeo together, lasso up a guest, and I don't think next week we don't have a guest, but we'll get somebody back on the week after. Oh wait, I guess the week after will be our Thanksgiving break. So whenever we do another episode after the following one, which we're just going to take a week break. So guess the cat's out of the bag, but not too crazy.
Yeah, no, it's we're gonna take a nice Thanksgiving break.
Going to take a year-long break.
A year-long break, a
We'll be-
hiatus.
yeah.
Because we just don't, we've just run out of ideas. We've watched every movie we can, so we have to wait until new ones come out.
Literally nothing else for us to watch, unfortunately. Our brains collectively, they're too big, and they've seen so many movies that we can't put any more movies in, or else they'll pop. So there's my other bit,
like Mr. Creosote from The Meaning of Life.
Well, I'm kind of thinking like we're gonna be the Eternals 2 villain, and it's just one big mega mind. And but I'll use this segue. What if Gus Van Sant directed a Marvel movie? What would that look like?
I don't know. I've never thought of this before, but I would assume
we had Chloe do it. So that kind of creaks open the door for other art house directors.
Well, I mean, I think you forgot that the Russo brothers already directed Marvel movies before.
Oh,
they directed Cherry.
My other favorite art house, twins. That's true.
I mean, I don't know. I would say that if Gus Van Sant directed a Marvel film, it would probably be about. It would be I think it would be personal.
Mm-hmm.
A personal film. Obviously,
I think it would probably be a movie set with superheroes being the backdrop and not necessarily the main character being a superhero. Or it would kind of take the route of everybody hates the superhero and he's trying to learn his way. It would be almost like a coming of age story, maybe.
Well, that would initially be the plot, and then Disney would take it and reshoot everything.
Yes, this is true.
Just cut any of that any of what Van Sant originally wanted, or remove any subtext, and it would just be all choreographed by some outsourced company. That
I agree, but instead of them pre-rendering all the fight scenes, they go ahead and pre-render all the sex scenes. Because it's not as it's not as bad.
Now that it's canonical that Marvel superheroes can have sex, now that sex has been discovered in the MCU, despite the fact that like there was a sex scene in the first Iron Man.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was saying.
Which was weird that they were making such a big deal about it. But anyways, now that sex has been rediscovered in the MCU, and Gus Van Sant, who is a notoriously horny director, there's gonna be some pipe is gonna be laid. That's
we can all agree.
So
syringes, there we go, and we'll lead right into Drugstore Cowboy. So Chris, what were your first impressions of Drugstore Cowboy?
Well, like any movie about drugs or hard drugs, Not talking about those zany stoner comedies, of course, that make
dude, where's my car? What the fuck, man?
But any type of movie about heroin or crack or these types of hard, drugs that turn people to a life of there's just very kind of sad life of poverty and absent-mindedness and just a bunch of other things. It's a real downer of a movie, Drugstore Cowboy. It's not even though there are some there are some ups, I would say mostly it's a series of downs. And I thought, it's a nice little drama. I think people do a good job for the most part. This is like, I think Heather Graham's first film role. And
just something to point out really quick when you brought up Heather Graham, for any of my Twin Peaks heads, excuse me, that might be listening, I find it funny that her name is Nadine. There's a character in Twin Peaks named Nadine, and she was also in Twin Peaks. But
it looks as if I'm wrong. Heather Graham was in Twins, the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. But I mean, I've seen Twins, and it was a while ago, so I don't remember.
She
but
must
I mean,
have
like
been one of the kids, right? Because no, I'm thinking of Kindergarten Cop.
No, yeah, that's different. Yeah, no, she was, and then also, yeah, but this was, I guess I'll say, it was one of her earlier roles. It was like a move into more of a dramatic role direction, despite her I don't know, despite her kind of being in a lot more comedies now, I would say, more so than any kind of dramatic roles, unless people consider The Hangover Part 3 to be a very,
I do.
it's
a very serious conclusion to the comedy trilogy.
I see. But yeah, I think that my favorite part of the movie, though, was William S. Burroughs' character, just because I thought it was it was good. It was cool that he was included in the film. And Burroughs is an interesting writer, interesting character. And I thought that he was a neat addition.
And who did he play in Drugstore Cowboy?
Oh, he was the priest. Okay,
that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. So truth be told, originally I wasn't going to pick this one, but I did want to do a Gus Van Sant. I always want to say Saint for some reason. I don't know why. But I'm not sad that I picked this one over the other ones or anything. Because I was talking to Chris about it, and I kind of want to cover at least a good bit of his filmography throughout the future of Podcast 43, and however we want to do it, we can go about doing it in whatever way we might whatever way fits best in the future. I was originally going to do the Death trilogy because I just seen Elephant, and I really, really liked Elephant. So I wanted to take a look back at Last Days and also see Jerry, which I've never seen before. But I was interested to ask you about, in terms of Sant's filmography, do you kind of see what kind of director traits did you pick up on with this one? Just out of pure curiosity.
Well, I would say that Van Sant seems to be he's a very visceral director. He doesn't really shy away from, a lot of times, I would say, or from my experience, he doesn't really shy away from not from showing the more violent and depressing and dire aspects of
agreed.
What?
I said agreed.
Yeah, of just our existence on this planet. And so, I mean, I would say that I would group Drugstore Cowboy more with Elephant and those types of movies, as opposed to something like Milk, which because I've seen Elephant Milk, this film, and then To Die For. So I'm not super well versed, and a big blind spot for me is definitely Good Will Hunting, considering how that's easily his most well-known film. And I also haven't seen My Own Private Idaho either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't I feel like this film just feels very like gritty. It tries to be more tapped into that, more tapped into like realism, as opposed to any type of Hollywood bullshit, I guess.
No, I definitely agree. I would say in terms of like style and feeling and like atmosphere, I definitely think there is a big like Drugstore Cowboy feels very, very different from what he was doing in the 2000s and post 2000s. Because I don't think I'm trying to think if he switched to digital for Paranoid Park, but I can't remember. But I've seen Paranoid Park, I've seen Elephant, I've seen Last Days, and those all feel similar in terms of atmosphere. And I know that it would make sense for Last Days and I'm so sorry. An Elephant to make sense because they are kind of a part of a trilogy, but I would say he kind of has a style and emotion that he's going for in that kind of post, at least in that little kind of grouping of movies. His style feels very different as compared to Drugstore Cowboy, where it almost feels Drugstore Cowboy feels a little bit more structured and a little bit more concrete, I feel like, with some of the emotions that it's trying to create, where maybe his later films to me feel a little bit more abstract. Now I haven't seen Milk, so I know that might not completely fit together and
Milk
kind
is
of the
very
way
much
I'm thinking.
Milk is very much like a by the numbers type biopic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not criticizing it. I think it's a fine film.
Yeah.
And it's very, it doesn't really have any, it's not like unique. It just kind of tells you the story of Harvey Milk as a person, and how kind of
Mm-hmm.
his like rise to becoming a major politician in San Francisco. And then of course the tragic assassination of him and Mayor Moscone.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, it's not, I would say that it's more in line with like what you would see from a lot of other Oscar-y type biopics
Mm-hmm.
of that same, like, because like even something like Last Days, the Kurt Cobain one that he did, that's more about, just the last hours of Cobain's life. It's not just
Mm-hmm.
like, this is how Nirvana was formed, and this
Yeah.
is how Kurt Cobain started to play the guitar and
Mm-hmm.
sing. And yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. But I guess to switch back more into Drugstore Cowboy.
No.
I was trying to use the comparison to kind of explain more about what I was thinking about Drugstore Cowboy, but truth be told, I don't know if I have a lot that I really think about the movie, because I think it is a very good movie. It's very well made. I like a lot of the I like how kind of like off kiltered a lot of the kind of hallucination scenes are, when Matt Dillon just starts thinking about hats. So hats are like floating all over the place. And um, I do find it interesting. And I really like that Matt Dillon, I mean, spoiler alert, he gives up the kind of junkie lifestyle at the end of the movie, and he plays it straight. And I feel like there's so many times where he's offered to kind of relapse, and he's just so stern about it. And I find it very interesting. Oh, bless you. And I think it is interesting because he is still a flawed character even after his kind of cleansing of all the drugs that he was on. Because later on in the film, his girlfriend, which I'm
His
lapsing on her
wife.
name. Oh yeah, his wife. Yeah, that's right. Um, she gives him like a paper bag full of like drugs that he can take. This is after he's declared that he would be, giving up that lifestyle and giving up drugs and stuff like that. And he immediately takes it to, or not immediately, I shouldn't say immediately, but he does give it to a priest who is known as being like a, kind of like a
Burroughs'
drug.
character.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Burroughs' character, a drug priest, which I don't know if that's necessarily the best thing to do, but I think he does care about the priest. But the priest is very smart in the way that he takes drugs as well. He's not taking like everything. He only takes like this one certain type of drug. And so it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's more kind of has that. I think Matt Dillon's character is more just he just cares about his own well-being, but he's not
Mhm.
very it's more kind of like if you want to continue down that path, then like I'm not going to force your hand on, maybe he has that exchange with his girlfriend at the end, with his wife, sorry, with his wife at the end,
Mhm.
where he does try to push her in that direction, but she's like, no, I can't. I want to stay. It's, she has a community that she's part of. She doesn't want to break away from that. And then that's it. And so it's Kelly Lynch's character. Sorry.
Mhm. No, you're all good.
But yeah, it is interesting how he is just kind of able to leave that whole lifestyle behind, and that's kind of the end of it. Uh at the end of the film, like you
Mhm.
think like when she gives him those drugs at the end, you think, oh, is he gonna even, because there's not even a consideration, he's not even thinking like, oh,
Mhm.
maybe I should relapse. It's just kind of like, I'll give these to William S. Burroughs.
Yeah. Well, his focus is completely on his wife. And I think there's like a one-off line where he's like, she's like the only thing I don't, he seems to be very content with life, but she's the only thing that he doesn't have. He doesn't have a love interest
Hmm.
in his new lifestyle, which I've thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, he just lives in a little apartment and by himself, working his factory job.
I drill holes in pipes.
Yeah, he drill holes in pipes. Uh, there's I guess the one thing that I do want to bring up is like how he brings up how it's like, I think what Van Sant is trying to get at is that everybody's kind of looking for a fix, and it's like
Mhm.
heroin addicts are at least open about it. Like they know what they want. They just want
This is true.
they just want hard drugs, and then that's
Mhm.
kind of what they want to do with their life. But I don't know if you picked up on, if you also picked up on that commentary a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's definitely there's a line and I'm forgetting it in particular, but he's like the average man doesn't know when his next like happy moment will be, but a junkie will
Yeah.
know exactly when it hits them at one point in the hour, what dosage will make them the most happiest and everything. So no, I agree. There is a very interesting kind of dialogue going on, or commentary, I should say, going on in there. I um I was interested. Um, I wanted to know if kind of if Nadine's death had affected him more than maybe Matt Dillon would like reveal. Because the whole movie, he's like, he just is like he's really, really mean to her the whole time. He's always criticizing her, and she wants a dog, and and they won't let dogs in the house, and she can't put a hat on the bed. Um, and everything. It just, I was wondering if there was going to be a further like exploration of kind of the her death and how that affected him.
No, yeah, well, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it's implied that like that's kind of the breaking point for him,
Yeah.
But he also says it was he says it was like other things too,
Yeah.
like the fact of like constantly having to worry about law enforcement breathing down his back and just all these other things. But it's kind of but when Heather Graham's character does die, it's kind of he's very kind of apathetic about it. Yeah, it's kind of like we gotta hide
He
her
just
body.
immediately puts it in the attic. Which I found that scene to be very funny. Not because the character had died, but they have this dead body in their hands and then they try to check out and it's like, oh well, the cop convention is in town this weekend. And that's very I just thought it was very funny. Excuse me. But yeah, did you kind of have anything else that you wanted to talk about with Drugstore Cowboy?
Not really. It's a fine film, and maybe our previous guest, Joseph Shin, would probably be able to talk a little bit more about it, honestly, because he does rate this film highly. But I don't really know what else to really talk about other than what we already touched upon.
Yeah. I guess in terms of like, if you like this movie and you want to further explore, if you want a movie kind of similar to this in terms of his directing style, I would highly, highly, highly recommend My Own Private Idaho. A great River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves performances, I think, are in that. Excuse me. And then if you just like us, Elephant, I highly recommend. Paranoid Park is a movie that I think I'm kind of lukewarm on now, but I tend to find when I rewatch his movies, I do tend to like them a lot more than the first time. So Paranoid Park is also in there. It's an interesting one. My selling pitch for that one is that if you want to see Crimes and Punishments, but for a teenager, that's the movie to watch. And
Wait, Crime and Punishment or Crimes and Misdemeanor?
Crimes and Punishments. That's the Russian novel, correct?
Yeah, the Dostoevsky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah. Like you said before, we'll definitely be talking more about not Burroughs, about Van Sant in the future. Maybe Burroughs as well.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, let's transition to
our ad break.
Okay.
Hello, Chris and Fulton and loyal listeners of Podcast 43. It's Joseph Shin coming to you through the magic of the voice memo to give a few cursory thoughts on this week's movie, Drugstore Cowboy. This is probably my favorite Gus Van Sant movie. It was his second film. He sort of broke the sophomore curse. And so his first three films to me formed the bedrock of sort of his auteur status. And so that would be Malinoche, Drugstore Cowboy, and then My Own Private Idaho. Now, My Own Private Idaho is one whose virtues have been extolled by many, but I think Malinoche and Drugstore Cowboy are a little bit underrated. Drugstore Cowboy, I think, forms a nice middle ground between the two in terms of mixing sort of this hard-edged realism, there's a lot of sort of documentary aesthetic, and also a sense of joie de vivre, of stylistic play. Drugstore Cowboy has those wonderful superimpositions of Matt Dillon, and when he's shooting up and sort of narrating what it feels like, and he's got sort of the spoon flying across the screen onto his face, and then like a cow in a tree, and it's really striking and a little injection of, pardon the pun, of surreality into sort of what's otherwise a pretty grounded narrative. In terms of the performances, Matt Dillon does an all-timer, probably his best of his career. And it was this film and earlier Francis Ford Coppola's Rumblefish that sort of announced him as sort of a major talent, one of the best of his generation. And it was a sort of promise that was never quite fulfilled, I think, to an extent. He should have had a more prodigious career and been able to secure better roles. It's sort of a similar phenomenon with Mickey Rourke. But I'm glad that we have this film to look back on, because he is dynamite, just effortlessly charismatic. It's a layered performance. You get sort of his angst and alienation near the end of the film, matched with sort of the ebullience and sort of humor that he brings, Bob, in sort of the first 2/3. It's probably the best movie about drug addiction, I think. As I've mentioned, sort of, it has a light touch. It's never quite this endlessly dour piece that you often see with sort of these films. Those are more akin to sort of movie of the week sort of productions, and even good films, I think, can get kind of caught in the mire. I'm thinking of sort of movies like The Panic in Needle Park. But Gus Van Sant brings the film just a completely different tonality that makes it, a pretty exciting watch throughout the runtime. And it's wonderful that it has probably the most effective piece of stunt casting in any movie ever, with William S. Burroughs at the end of the film as the priest that sort of tries to shepherd Bob along as he sort of tries to quit drugs. So that's what I have to say. I'm glad that you programmed this one. It's a great film, and I hope anyone who's listening is encouraged to see it. Thanks for having me.
Hello. Welcome to podcast 43. We're kind of switching it up a little bit this week. We don't have any guests.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I guess we're technically coming back from the ad break. So we're sorry about this, but we're gonna release this section earlier and then release our commentary on Drugstore Cowboy later on Tuesday night. So for people who are listening to this Tuesday morning, it'll be out of sync until we record it later that night. We had a little bit of a snafu, but business is usual, and we still wanted to deliver at least half of the product that we can, and then like I said, the rest will be up later.
Yeah.
So if you're looking forward to that, thank you for listening now, and hope we'll grace your ears later on in the night, however or whenever you might listen to it.
Yeah.
So.
Oh God.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. And just well. So I guess we're gonna talk about new releases, which I did not watch any this week, but Fulton was a lot.
Well, you saw Eternals 3 times.
Don't tell anyone
for each day. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Unfortunately, my needing to work this week made me not able to watch the Eternals with some friends, but that's God. But that's all right, because I their reviews after the theater made me kind of happy that I had to miss out on it.
Well, Chris, I've been staunchly anti seeing the Eternals, and there's a 10% part of my brain that's like, maybe you do want to see it to see if it's really that bad.
Maybe it really does look as good as a Terrence Malick.
Which I think the only acceptable case that I'll watch it is when it gets added onto Disney Plus. some part in the near future or however, and I don't have to pay for it. And I feel bad for Chloe, but I'll watch Nomadland. I'll praise that if I like it. But this one, it's not a part of the ship I want to get on. But without further ado, I did see a lot of new releases this week. So firstly, I'll start off. I'll start off with A Man Named Scott, which is the Amazon Prime original documentary about Kid Cudi. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad documentary. I mean, if you don't know too much about Kid Cudi and you want a good overview of kind of his discography, I think this does kind of it does kind of fill out the typical information that you would want to hear with an overview about an artist. And I think there are parts of it that really do try to get to the core of who Kid Cudi is and what he means to the generations, or what he means to his generations of listeners and stuff like that, and how he's kind of influenced the music industry. It's interesting from that point of view, and I think there is kind of combat within the documentary over whether or not it wants to dig deeper into Kid Cudi as a person, or if it wants to dig into his influence and how artists have kind of evolved, specifically with like in the hip hop and pop scene, how artists and their sounds have kind of evolved in kind of the post-internet age that we live in now. One of the biggest kind of downsides of it to me is that they do shoot a lot of footage to symbolize what people are talking about within the documentary. And I just found the kind of the visuals on that end to be they're a little odd, and they bring in Jaden Smith to be a young Kid Cudi, and I never felt like those scenes quite really worked. And there's a lot of talk about artists being put inside a box, and they legit show a person in a box. I just thought it was kind of funny in that regard. So yeah, I don't know if I can highly recommend it, but I mean, if you're into Kid Cudi, I mean, it's not going to hurt to see it. But if you are a super fan, I don't really know if it would reveal too much. I don't really know if it would reveal too much. But for me, as being someone that's always been aware of him, but has never really done a deep dive, it does, provide some information that is interesting. The next one is Finch, which is the new Tom Hanks vehicle.
Tom Hanks robot romantic comedy where Tom Hanks falls in love with a robot.
That would be very interesting if that was the story, but I hate to deflate people's enthusiasm when that it's not. It would be funnier if that was the story. This is a new Apple TV Plus movie. I heard about this movie and I was like, what the hell? And I feel like nobody is saying anything about it, and nobody's really talking about it. Nobody knows about it. So I just find it interesting that like a new Tom Hanks movie is out. No one is really saying much about it. So I kind of wanted to see it for pure interest, and I'm kind of on a sci-fi kick right now. And I'll be honest, I just don't like Tom Hanks's character in this movie. And I don't know if you're supposed to, or if you're supposed to not like him. But Caleb Landry Jones, I think, does good with the voice acting. I'm not sure if he did the mocap, but whoever did the mocap for Jeff the robot did a very good job. And I don't want to like spoil a lot, but a lot of it boils down to me just not really liking Tom Hanks's character in this. And so I do sympathize and empathize with the robot. I find that to be a very touching story, kind of because it is kind of a coming of age story. It's a really weird mixed match of like genre. So it's like part road trip, part coming of age, part adventure film, part sci-fi. So there's a lot of elements that are kind of in there. And the one thing that I would like to point out, and I didn't come up with this myself, but I read it in David Ehrlich's review of it. that he said, like, in an age where we have all these grandiose sci-fi films, this is a very simple sci-fi film, and it doesn't try to bog you down with a lot of like explanations and kind of world creating and stuff like that. It's a pretty like straightforward like sci-fi film, and it's on a small scale, so I can appreciate it for that. But I think it's okay, like it's decent. And lastly, I have Spencer, which you will see and time will tell. But to me, as of right now, as of recording this, I've yet to see Lady Gaga in The House of Gucci. My kind of pick for Best Actress would have to go to Kirsten Stewart for Spencer. And I really, 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 really like this movie. It's about the most anxious I've felt watching a movie in a very long time. I felt like I wanted to vomit and crawl out of my skin. It's super, super anxious. It's extremely well directed. And I know there's been a lot of controversy over the historical accuracy of it, because there's a lot of historical speculation with this film as well. And I like how it opens up and it says that it's a fable based out of a true story. So I don't necessarily think it tries to be 100% historically accurate, but still something to kind of point out and talk about. But yeah, she's my pick for Best Actress. I don't have any faith in the Oscars, so I don't know, but I can definitely see the race coming between Lady Gaga and her for best actress. Like I said, the direction was amazing. The cinematography was absolutely beautiful. I know that I'm pretty sure they shot it on film and it really, really paid off. Just because of like the color palette in the film is really, really easy on the eyes, and it looks very, very nice. I thought the score was amazing. It's a kind of like discontinent jazz score, and it works really, really well. Yeah, I don't really have any negatives about the film, truth be told. I wouldn't say it's an easy watch. So when I saw it, I had just gotten off work. It wasn't exactly the mood I wanted to be in, but I can definitely very much appreciate the film. So I think that's all my recent releases.
And what about the robot sex scene? Was that
it was better the highlight, the 20-minute highlight. It's a long scene, but it's uncomfortable, but it's really something to marvel at.
Quite
no
quite
pun
brave,
intended.
Quite brave for Apple TV to include a 20-minute gratuitous human/robot sex scene.
Well, it's interesting because they also have, which I'm gonna try and find time to I have a very busy weekend, but I'm going to try to find time to get it in. But they also have Apple TV has a new movie coming out this week of the release of this episode called The Shrink Next Door, and it's got Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell playing opposite each other. I'm kind of interested to see what that one's going to be about, but it looks like a drama.
I feel like Apple TV
hardcore drama.
I feel like Apple TV is just releasing movies that don't seem real.
Well, like, do you remember it? Yeah.
Do you remember? Oh God, I don't know what's. I think maybe I'm getting a cold.
It's okay.
But do you remember that Justin Timberlake movie, like Parker? I think was what it was called, that came out last year.
Oh yeah. Well, there was Cherry, which is the Russo brothers. There was there was that other movie with Anthony Mackie. It's so strange. Yeah, no, I completely know what you mean, but I feel like the advertising just isn't there. Like I heard about Finch on IMDb, and then with The Shrink Next Door, I have been getting YouTube ads, but it just doesn't. The Shrink Next Door, I don't know really how it's gonna go, and it could surprise me, but it just kind of looks like a serious, like almost like thriller. But we'll see. I don't know. But no, I agree. It's very strange. Their output is very, very. It's very, very weird. I feel like they haven't had a big movie that is like making people take them serious though. I mean, they had Greyhound, but I don't even think that did very
well. Greyhound wasn't even supposed to be their movie.
Yeah, this is true.
That was a movie that they bought from Columbia Pictures or / Sony to during the pandemic, because they were just like, this movie probably wasn't going to make a lot of money in the theater, and now the pandemic has screwed things up.
I think that was the better way for that movie to be released.
It was smart. They Cloverfield paradoxed it. Like what Netflix did. Bought Paramount's Cloverfield paradox. Paramount made a cool profit on a movie that was
probably not going to do very well.
So yeah. And so you got Spencer and Finch and a kid named Cuddy. I don't have anything to talk about. The Harder They Fall is seems really good. Both of us did not
really
get a chance
wanted to get it in. I clearly could have made some plays and just not watched A Man Named Scott, but it was really short. And
sorry, A Man Named Scott, not a kid named Cuddy.
You're all good. I don't know. I really want to get in The Harder They Fall. I just don't. I don't know if I'll have the time. It is a long movie, or at least this weekend. I don't know if I'll be able to. But without further ado,
moving on to the top three. I'm gonna be so this week it was pretty much all good things, but I will talk about something that was absolute dog shit, because I think me and Fulton will be able to have a nice dialogue about it at least. A romp, if you will, is Luc Besson's Lucy.
I thought you were gonna say a different movie.
No. I mean, we can talk about that one too if you want. I was thinking that
why not? Yeah.
But Lucy is a movie from 2014 starring Scarlett Johansson, where she's
They probably did scar her too.
It probably did, because on top of it being a very bad performance from her, the plot is just really stupid. Like, no buts about it. Like, so basically she is she gets like kind of caught up in this whole thing with like a drug kingpin, a South Korean drug kingpin, but it starts in Taipei, not in South Korea. And so then he puts like these weird blue orb drugs inside of her and is going to like, and a bunch of other people, and they're going to like transport the drugs across country lines. But then like the bag of drugs like opens up inside of her body, and it turns out that they like give you like superpowers. They're like synthetic drugs that
so you're telling me Project Power is the sequel to Lucy?
I don't think anybody's brought up Project Power since a week after it came out. If anybody remembers what Project Power was, it was a Netflix film that was a superhero movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx. Another one of those movies that isn't real. You can't tell me otherwise. But Jesus Christ. But yeah, so Lucy, on the other hand, gets these synthetic drugs inside of her body that apparently somebody that's pregnant produces for their child. And Scarlett Johansson gets like a bunch of them, and it makes her like able to use more and more of her brain. And like that means that she's more and more like invincible and can use like telekinesis. And and I know all God, and I know all this stuff sounds really cool, but it actually
film's killing you.
Yeah, literally. I know all this stuff sounds really cool, but it actually fucking sucks. Like, the action scenes are very lame. They don't look cool at all. And especially coming from somebody like Luc Besson, who prided himself in who was from the French cinema movement of Cinéma du Look, which was all about making things that look cool, like Fifth Element, his 90s film, or of course La Femme Nikita. those are very stylized action films. And I don't see that here in Lucy. I just see generic action scenes. I see Scarlett Johansson chewing scenery. I see Morgan Freeman delivering exposition through science jargon that is just complete gobbledygook. And then a terrible plot twist. I think it gets very ridiculous at the end. They do this whole homage almost to 2001: A Space Odyssey that feels almost cartoonish. Don't watch Lucy. Well, getting
now
back. So I'm back, and we're talking about
Elia Kazan.
I'm talking about Elia Kazan. Yeah. So these are so I watched 2 Elia Kazan movies this week, and both were very good. Other than, the elephant in the room being that Elia Kazan is a dirty rat who ratted out his friends to the House for Un-American Activities Committee and helped with the blacklist and stuff. But that doesn't detract from the fact that he's a great director. He was a great classic Hollywood director. Splendor in the Grass from 1961 was very good, but I will be talking about 1957's A Face in the Crowd instead, which is also very great film from Kazan about kind of the power of radio and just how much power, like, being able to broadcast your thoughts to millions upon millions of people, what power you hold when you have that, and how awesome of a power it is. Andy Griffith gives a great performance as Lonesome Rhodes in this. It was kind of his breakout role, and a very serious role for Griffith, that he never went back to doing serious roles. Went more of the, obviously, the sitcom / comedy route, but it was a very just kind of like this bumbling drunk.
I just can't believe they tried to make a sequel with Don Knotts. It's a weird idea, but I thought it would work.
I would love a serious Don Knotts movie.
I feel like I don't know. Sorry, but I didn't mean to sidetrack.
No, it's all right.
It'd be interesting.
But yeah, it was well, so Face in the Crowd, you kind of delve into this character and how he's able to straddle the line between being very charismatic and very abrasive at the same time to the people around him. And you also have a good performance from Walter Matthau, who's always kind of skeptical of Lonesome Rhodes and will kind of speak his mind on it, but he's a writer on the radio show. And I think it just has a really, really great poignant ending. And I think it's a very topical film to this day, with kind of how intrinsically tied news and entertainment are now, and how people care more about the personality rather than like the actual information that they're getting. I mean, it's very easy to draw comparisons to how news and politics work now. Lonesome Rhodes, Tucker Carlson. There's a through line, surely. And then I guess last thing I want to talk about is Jim Jarmusch's Stranger Than Paradise, which is this kind of breakout movie. It's got John Lurie in it, and it's got John Lurie and Richard Edson, who has kind of been in a bunch of other things, but used to actually be the drummer for Sonic Youth for the first album. And he actually plays the guy in Ferris Bueller that takes the car, the Ferrari, that part when he's like, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. I remember that.
But yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff. You'll see him in this and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's that guy. But he has a lead role in this as opposed to a minor role. And then there's also Esther Ballant, who's like the cousin of John Lurie's character. and it's just kind of, it's an art cinema, it's art cinema indie type, so type of movie. So like not a lot happens, but it's just a really cool movie. I think that Jarmusch just kind of embodies, sorry, at least what I deem cool. And this has some great music, great needle drop from Scream. Great needle drop from the what's his name, Screaming Jay Hawkins. And it's kind of funny that Screaming Jay Hawkins went on to be in Jarmusch's Mystery Train later on in his career. Well, 5 years later, and Jarmusch and him became friends. And Jarmusch was a big admirer of his music, and it was first used in this. It's just kind of like three separate parts of these characters, kind of in different parts of America, and the cinematography is very unconventional. It's shot on 16 millimeter in black and white, and mostly all of it will be like kind of a continuous shot, fade to black, time kind of jumps ahead, continuous shot, fade to black. That's kind of the pattern. Yeah, just a very lovely film. It's great, especially if you like low budget filmmaking as kind of a source of inspiration for maybe your own creative, maybe what you want to do with the medium creatively. Then I think you'll really appreciate Stranger Than Paradise.
Cool. Okay, I'll start out with Wes Craven's Swamp Thing from 1982. I will be honest, I had kind of an idea what this film would be like, and the film didn't exactly fit into my kind of preconceived thoughts of it. So normally, like when I think of Wes Craven, I think of Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street. So Nightmare on Elm Street. So kind of like a little bit of slicker direction. And then this one, I wouldn't really say that you can, and I don't know if I'm qualified enough and I've seen enough of his films to really state this, but to me, just based off of like the first time viewing, I don't know if you can really feel his like signature kind of director traits on this one, because it really does embrace kind of the 40s and 50s kind of B mad scientist kind of plot lines and everything. And it definitely feels like a lower budget movie, which also is kind of interesting for a superhero film, or I shouldn't say superhero film, but superhero adjacent type thing, because it was a DC property, or is still a DC property. But it got Ray Wise in it. And I always love seeing Ray Wise in movies. He's never not a pleasure. And so it was very interesting to see him. And it's a very interesting movie, and at first I didn't like it, but the more I like kind of leaned into it, I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it, and it very much embraces and doesn't try to hide what it's trying to follow in terms of like stylistic stuff and the kind of like genre tropes and stuff like that. And so it's very fun. Like I said, it's a lot more budget than I had previously thought. So you can literally see the divots when Swamp Thing is kind of moving. You can see the divots in his suit where the suit doesn't fit really tight. So they almost kind of like crinkle like pants and stuff like that. And Swamp Thing's face looks very funny. And I don't know, it is very, very it's a very funny film. And I think it would be kind of worth a watch. Really my only complaint is more in the way that it's shot. I thought a lot of the shot design seemed a little flat, and it could have been more kind of energetic, and I think a little bit more creative in that regard. But I know there's a sequel, so I do want to check out the sequel as well. And then next I have Raising Arizona, which I might write a paper on. I have to write a paper here soon for my interest cinema class. So this is one of the films on that list. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to write something on it. And I will be honest, in terms of their other Coen Brothers films I've seen, I very much do enjoy this one. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's super funny, extremely well acted, well directed, and the cinematography is amazing, especially during like the chase scenes and the really, really energetic like fight / action scenes. John Goodman's great. So there is a lot to like about this film, but it feels feels like a weird stop in the Coen brothers kind of filmography, because it is them embracing like a really, really wacky kind of story, which I know that they've always kind of meshed kind of like real life attitudes with crazy kind of stories and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just feels like a weirder Coen brothers film. But yeah, no, it's great. Halter's great. Nick Cage is great. John Goodman, all pluses for me. It's a very, very interesting movie. I don't know if I'll be able to ride on it though. I don't know if I feel like I have that type of grasp on it, but we shall see. So oh, and then lastly, I rewatched Johnny Mnemonic, which the next time I watch it, I will be watching the Japanese cut because I'm very, very interested to finally see that of the film. But I love this movie. It's like pure escapism, pure adventure to me. Um, like I'm always in awe of how good the production design is on this movie and like how good the sets are. And it feels like a truly lived in world, which I feel is like an issue that a lot of like sci-fi movies kind of have difficulty with, is creating a convincing world. And I also find it interesting that the director, what's his name, Robert Longo, this is his only movie. He was a painter turned or he was a painter that did this one film. He's done other short films, but he's never made a feature after this one. I just find it interesting. I think that could also be a cue as to why and how the look of the film is so kind of engrossing. And I know the CGI hasn't aged well. I think it kind of adds to the charm of the movie at the same time. So that's it for me in terms of
that's well, thank you for those recommendations, Fulton. I still have not seen Johnny Mnemonic, but
what?
Maybe no, I still haven't seen
for
it.
real.
But maybe
God.
Maybe when I do watch it, I should watch the Japanese cut first, and we can watch the Japanese cut together.
Oh, cool. I've heard the Japanese cut is better. Because I like hunting those things down. I do want to find a physical copy of the Laserdisc at some point in my life. So that's a side goal. It's a bucket list thing for me. So that'll be interesting. That'll be fun.
And
but dude, it's great. It's got Dolph Lundgren in it. Ice-T is in it. The lead singer Black Flag is in it.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah, Henry Rollins is in it. There's a lot going on in the movie, and it's insane.
Well, looks like we have to announce what next week's movie is. Yes. And next week's film is going to be an Elia Kazan movie. Surprise. One of the coolest, most not bad dudes ever to walk there. I would tell him every one of my secrets, and I knew he would keep those. And it would only, he's a really trustworthy guy. About as good at keeping a secret as he is at directing movies. This bit's going on for a little too long.
It's pretty.
But I
was enjoying it.
But we're gonna talk about his film Panic in the Streets from 1950. It is a noir that he directed with Richard Widmark and Paul Douglas and Jack Palance and Zara Mostel. They added a bunch of film noirs to the Criterion Channel this month. Fox film noirs, and this is one of them in the collection. And they had the film scholar, and I forget her name, but she does a great intro about. No, and it's not that. I just have a bad. I don't remember names. I don't remember names well.
Listen, Chris. I'm right there. I'm right there with you. All the times I've forgotten somebody's name, male, female.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Non-binary.
Somebody's name.
Okay, yeah. Imogen Sarah Smith is her name, but Imogene Sarah Smith. I think that's actually how you read that. Imogene Sarah Smith talks about these film noirs, these Fox film noirs, and Panic in the Streets is one of them. So that kind of piqued my interest. Cool. And I would recommend everyone to check these out. This on the Criterion Channel. There's a lot of great ones. I just watched Henry Hathaway's Niagara today, which is a color noir set in Niagara Falls with Marilyn Monroe as a femme fatale, which is kind of a unlikely.
That one looked
casting
really good.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
That one still that I saw from Discord, from Letterboxd looked fantastic. So I really do want to check that one out.
But yes, we will catch you guys next week for Panic in the Streets, and stay wavy.
Yep, stay safe.
All right.
You haven't got much time, Mr. Quinn.
Commissioner, what's the use of kidding ourselves? We can't track down an unknown killer in 2 days.
He's absolutely right, but there's only one way to do this.
You get on the radio.
And panic the city? Now, wait a minute.
Herewith recorded is the story of a silent, savage menace. How for 3 days a great American city found itself outside the United States of America. The events, incidents, and emotions of the people who were a part of it, who found time running out as they looked into the face of mortal peril.
I knew you guys were crazy.
Wait a minute, Neff, wait a minute.
Wait for what? Somebody else to die?
You two men, listen to me. I've got something to tell you. Well, what am I supposed to do? Just sit here and watch?
Listen, Doctor, I'm taking a chance that you may be right. You take a chance that I know what I'm doing and let me do it. As a matter of fact, you'd help us both out if you went home and went to bed.
Okay, I'm not going to argue anymore. And I'm not going to wait until the facts penetrate that thick skull of yours. There just isn't that much time. I gotta get out of here.
Hey.
What?
Try and get back early if you can, won't you?
Yeah, I'll try. Where's the other man? Okay. All right, come on, get out of there. You two men, listen to me. I've got something to tell you.